Hey, fish people, welcome back to the channel. So, you just went out, you bought yourself a 10-gallon fish tank, but you don't know what to put in it. Well, you're in luck, because today we're going to count down my personal top 10 picks for stocking a 10-gallon fish tank. If you enjoy this kind of thing, if you're not subscribed already, please remember to hit that sub button if you do enjoy the video as you watch it along. Coming in at number 10, we have the pencilfish, specifically the red Beckford's pencilfish. Now, this is a popular schooling fish. Because of its small size, their vibrant color variations, they are a wild fish. They do have a vivid red coloration to them, with then black stripes that go horizontally along their body, which almost looks like the lead inside of a pencil or graphite. At first glance, you might confuse them for a member of the Tetra family, since they do have a similar body shape to something like a Neon Tetra. Now, pencilfish should be kept in a school of 6 or more. They're very adaptable, but their natural habitat does contain, softer acidic water that has lots of tannins and leaf litter in there. So when you're keeping them in your tank, you're going to want to try and keep it at a closer to acidic level, but if you can't, that's okay, because they do have a wider range than that. Speaking of ranges, temperature-wise, they can go from 64 upwards of 82, and then that pH range is 5 to 8. Again, trying to keep it on the more acidic side would always be good, especially wild caughts. And there are actually several species of pencilfish as well, if you want other colorations. Personally, I've kept the common Beckford red pencil variety. I've kept the purple variety, which has a reddish purple body broken up with 2 to 3 black lines. And then I've also kept the dwarf pencilfish, which has 3 black stripes and then like 2 beigey ones with some red tip fins. Overall, these are going to be a great beginner fish for someone that wants to try something different in a 10-gallon tank. At number 9, got something a little different here. We have the wild Betta RUTILANS. Now, these fish are awesome for people that love these smaller nano fish and want to try something different, because they're only going to get about 2.5 inches, but they have this beautiful, deep, reddish color. Now, they're not as aggressive as other betta species, so you can keep them in small groups with minimal issues. As they are going in a 10-gallon tank, I'd recommend 2 females to a male if you can get them sexed. Otherwise, a group of 3 would do nicely. These will do best in a tank with a temperature range of 72 to 80 and a pH range of 5 to 6.5. You might have a little more wiggle room going upwards. You might be able to get away with a 7.0 pH, but remember, these do come from the wild where they are going to have more acidic water. So if you need to get your pH down, you can use things like driftwood, peat moss, other botanicals to get your pH lower for fish like this. Food-wise, you can feed them anything with a good protein, something like a bug bite, Akari micro pellet, bloodworms, Daphnia, tube fix, extreme nano, krill flake, anything like that is going to be good for these, and you'll have a stunning tank you can look at. For number 8, we have a cool little fish. We have the white cloud mountain minnow. Now, these are a stunning looking fish. They have a silverish green scale body with a nice iridescent pink, along with some black stripes, so they're going to have a nice shimmer sparkle for you in your tanks. They have a red tipped snout and caudal fin as well, which is the back fin, along with a nice black dot at the base of that tail. Their dorsal fins, which is on top, and their ventral fins on the bottom, are going to have a red with a white tip to them as well. So they're going to have a lot of color patterns going on for you in your tanks. They're only going to max out about 1.5 inches, so they're perfect for these 10-gallon size tanks. Now, unlike other fish, these are a cold water fish. What does that mean? It means you don't need a heater for them. So if you're someplace where you don't want to have to pay the electrical for a heater, so these guys can actually survive in extremely cold temperatures. They're from a high mountain range up in China. So they've been able to go down into the low 40s and upwards into the mid 70s. The sweet spot for these guys is typically 66 to 68. pH-wise, 6 to 8.5. Closer to neutral, the better, but you do have a bit of wiggle room with pH. These guys are an omnivore, so like other fish, they're going to be able to take pretty much anything you want to feed them. So a good flake food, a good pellet food, you'll be all set. They're also a schooling fish. You're going to want to get at least a group of 5 or 6. You're doing them in a 10-gallon tank, get a group of 6, you'll have a nice school going on. You can always add more later on if you feel 6 is not enough for your school. Overall, they're just an easy beginner fish for new people. They're also super easy to breed if you want to try a new breeding project in your 10-gallon tank. At number 7, we've got the Endlers LIVEBEARERS. Now, Endlers come in all shapes, colors, sizes. They're basically a guppy, only smaller. Now, in my opinion, they're actually slightly more hardier than most of the guppies you're going to be buying at your pet stores. The Endler going to give a beginner fish keeper a nice hardier fish that's also going to give them a nice color, give them a nice easy breeding project as well if they want to do that. They're actually in the same family as guppies, so they are sometimes mistaken for guppies as well. Now, Endlers are going to stay much smaller than guppies. They're only going to max out about 1.5 inches, have an average lifespan about 2 to 5 years. Now, temperature-wise, they can tolerate 64, upwards of 85 degrees, and a pH of 5.5 all the way up to 8. Again, 7 being an ideal range as well, and somewhere in the middle for a temperature. They are an omnivore, so you'll pretty much take anything you want to give them. Make sure you got a good balanced protein to plant-based food. Good flake food, the community crave would be a good option for these. And they're extremely easy to breed. They're one of those fish you can pretty much just add water and you're going to have babies in your tank in no time. And again, they come in so many different varieties that you're going to be able to find something that you might like. Coming in at number 6, we have the Panda Tetra. Panda Tetra is an adorable little fish. It's only going to get just under 1.5 inches. They have this really cool metallic gray body with then some greenish yellow iridescence to them, so they're going to have a nice sparkle when the light hits them just right in your tank. They get their panda name because towards the back of them, at the base of their tail, they have this black and white little blotchy pattern like a panda. They also are going to have this on their anal fin, that fin just toward the back. You're going to want to keep them in a small group of 8 to 12 as they are a schooling fish, and it'll make them feel more comfortable inside your tank. 10-gallon, you shouldn't have any problem keeping that many in there. They're an easy species to keep. They don't require any crazy strict water parameters to be able to handle. They can handle a temperature range of 70 to 80, and on average their pH range goes from 5.5 to 7.5 as well. And again, like most fish, it's another omnivore, not a picky eater. Decent flake food, pellet food, they'll be happy fishes for you. Number 5, we've got the zebra Danio. Now, the zebra Danio is probably one of the most popular fish in the hobby, since you can pretty much find it in every fish store around the world. Every mom and pop, every store is going to have zebra Danios in it. They're very hardy species as well, and they also don't require a heater, which makes them a perfect combo for someone that's just getting into this hobby that wants to try and keep fish for the first time. Recommend them a zebra Danio. It's a hardy fish. It's been called the bulletproof fish for a reason. These fish have a silverish gold body, and they have a nice deep black horizontal lines that go along the length of their body. So you get that almost zebra-ish pattern. There's also several different types of zebra Danios, including you got your albinos, you got your leopards, your longfin, and there's a bunch of other sub-variants as well. Fish are going to max out about 2.5 inches. You're going to want to get a group of at least 5 because they are a semi-schooling fish, and you'll get some nice personality out of them. Since this is a 10-gallon tank, 5 is probably your perfect number there because it'll give you just enough room in case anything goes wrong. For water parameters, you're looking at a temperature range of 64 upwards of 82. Most people keep them around 74, 76 degrees, but you do have that cooler side as well as your warmer side if you want to keep them up there. pH range, 6.5 to 7.5. Do your best to keep it as close to neutral as you can. They have a lifespan of about 3 to 5 plus years, all depending on water conditions, water quality, and what food they are fed. When it comes to food, they're not picky at all. Feed them whatever you'd like, flake food, food-wise, dried foods, live foods, whatever you want to feed them, they're going to do just fine on it. Just make sure you get them a nice balanced diet. Or we have a different fish on the list. We have a red striped killifish. Now, the red striped killifish have a more pike style body, and then their mouth is upturned. They get their name because they have this nice red stripe that runs along their entire body length. Of course, the males are going to have more pronounced colors, but the females still have a nice, more mellowed silverish tone to them, but they still look just as beautiful. Tank parameters wise, 10 gallons is going to be perfect. These guys do 1 male to 2 females. They're going to max out about 2 inches. You'll be able to get them to breed if you put something like a moss in there where they can put their eggs. It's going to give you a nice tank. Water temperature wise, you're going to want to keep them between 68 to 72 water temperature there, but you can go either way a little bit. I've kept mine up as high as 76 and they're doing just fine. pH wise, 5.5 upwards of 7, and you're going to be good for these as well. Now they are a carnivore, so you're going to want to feed them some kind of insect-based food or more protein, small crustacean kind of thing. You can feed them some Daphnia, tube-fixed bloodworms. They're going to be super happy. You can deal with the Hikari freeze-dried. You can go with the Hikari frozen. You can try and create your own Daphnia culture if you want, or hatch baby brine. You can also give them a flake or a pellet if you don't want to go that route too. Overall, this is going to give you a different type of fish that you can try keeping in your 10-gallon tank. We have the red neon blue eye rainbow fish, or the Pseudomogil luminatus. Wonderful little fish for a 10-gallon tank. Probably one of the more perfect fish. The males are going to have a nice, stunning, deep red to reddish orange body with some blue accents throughout, especially when they're getting ready to mate. Their fins are going to flare up nice and big, and they're going to get this deep color to them. The females are just a smaller version of the males. They have shorter fins, but their colorations are just as beautiful. They only max out at about 1.5 inches. So for those of you keeping these in a 10-gallon tank, get a group of 6 to 10, and they're going to do just fine for you. Temperature-wise, they're going to like anywhere from 64 to about 78 degrees and a pH of 6 to 7.5. Now, they are a very active fish. By active, I mean they are considered jumpers. They run the risk that they will jump out of your tank, even the smallest openings. Those little openings you have in the back of your hood for your filter light, your filter cord, and your heater cord, I had one jump right out. So just make sure if you had to keep these, try not to startle them. If you're going to be working around the tank a lot, put some plastic wrap or something on that hole just to make them more secure. Sadly, they do have a shorter lifespan of about 2 years, but that also depends on water conditions and the food quality of what you're feeding them. And they are an omnivore, so like other ones, good flake food, good pellet food, frozen food, freeze-dried food, you're going to be just fine with them. All right, coming in at number 2 here, we have probably one of the more underrated tetra fish, in my opinion, the black neon. Now, these fish have a tannish to gray metallic body and a large black stripe that runs down their center. And they can have a slight orangish tint to them too in the dorsal area or the top. They're probably one of the hardiest tetras in my experience, and I've kept a lot of different tetras. They're extremely easy fish to care for. They don't require any crazy maintenance to keep them alive. They don't require any crazy parameters water-wise either. They're probably one of, like zebra Danios, a perfect beginner fish because they can survive so many first-time fish keepers' mistakes. They're only going to max out about 1.5 inches, and they live about 5 years, again, depending on the age when you purchase them and your quality of your water. You're going to want to keep them in a group of about no less than 5. 5 to 6 would be a good number in a 10-gallon. pH-wise, you can go anywhere from 5 upwards to 7.5, and then for a temperature, you're going to want to keep them about 72 to 82. Feed them a good flake food, something like a Bug Bite Tropical, throw in a pellet like an Extreme Nano or Hikari Micro, freeze-dried Hikari foods every now and then for a treat, and you're going to have a wonderful experience with your black neons. Again, super easy fish, super hardy fish, extremely underrated fish in the hobby because they don't have the same color patterns and spectacular popping colors as something like a neon or a cardinal, but they still have great personality, extremely hardy. Definitely get these if you're just starting out. Number 1. Now again, this list was in no particular order, but the top 2 are the top 2 and they could flip-flop either way. But number 1 is the HARLQUIN Rasbora. Now this has become an extremely popular fish in the hobby over the last decade. They're a great grouping fish. They're going to give you a nice tight school of fish, and they have great color patterns. These fish have a nice diamond-shaped body with a light pink to orangish coloration to them. And then they also have a distinct black splodge on their bodies. It looks like a wedge-shaped doorstop pyramid kind of style. It's just a nice looking fish. That pop of black off of the pinkish orange body is beautiful. And they also have a nice shine to them when the light hits them in the right spot. They're, again, an easy fish to keep, and they're a good tight schooler for you as well. They're probably one of the most peaceful fish in the hobby in my experience, and they're super easy to keep parameter-wise. They're only going to get about 2 inches in length, so you can keep a group of about 6 of these in a 10-gallon, and they'll do good for you. Temperature-wise, we're looking at about 72 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and then a pH of 6 to 7.5. I kept mine lower than the 6 as well, and they did just fine. For food, Harlequins are an omnivore, so pretty much anything you want to throw in the tank, again, they'll be fine with. Just make sure it's small enough for them. Something like HARLQUIN micro, pellet, or any of the HARLQUIN freeze-dried foods, or even extreme nano will do good for these guys. As always, thank you all so much for the support on the videos. If you're interested in more stocking style ideas, I will link my 5-gallon stocking idea at the end of this for you. Please remember to leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite fish was, or what you would recommend for someone that is just starting out that wants to keep a 10-gallon aquarium and they don't know what quite yet to buy. As always, thank you all so much again, and I'll see you in the next one.